You've probably heard it before. She says she wants a kind man, a good listener, someone who cares. So you try. You text back fast. You're available. You support her goals, compliment her style, and always ask how her day went. You show her everything you were told women wanted. But she pulls away. No fight. No explanation. Just quiet distance. Weeks later, you see her smiling in someone else's story. He doesn't check in. He doesn't chase. He doesn't fold. And yet, she's glued to him. Laughing. Leaning in. Obsessed. That's when the thought hits you like a punch to the gut. Was I too nice? You replay every moment in your head, thinking maybe you texted too much, cared too openly, showed too much interest. But it's deeper than that, because what she says she wants and what she responds to aren't the same thing. This isn't about becoming cold. It's not about playing games either. It's about understanding the unspoken rules, the real language of attraction, and the one mindset shift that separates the man she says she wants from the one she can't stop thinking about. Let's break it down. So what do women say they want? Ask the average woman, and the answers sound pretty clear. I want a man who communicates, who's emotionally available. I want a kind man. Gentle, respectful. Someone who listens to me, validates me. A man who'll make me laugh, support my dreams, and treat me like a queen. And here's the thing. She's not lying. Most women genuinely believe that's what they want. And many do, consciously. But here's where things get complicated. Because what a woman says in calm conversation is very different from how she responds in the chaos of real emotion. Let me explain. You take her at her word. You become that man, supportive, patient, emotionally open, always available. You show your care. You express your feelings. You give her your time, your attention, your full self. And somehow it backfires. She becomes colder, less excited. She says she's just not ready, or she's too busy, or she doesn't feel that spark. You're confused, because didn't she ask for this? Didn't you just give her everything she claimed to want? This is where most men lose themselves, thinking they must not be enough. That maybe they weren't kind enough, present enough, expressive enough. So they try harder. They double down on the traits women say they want. And yet, they get friend-zoned, ghosted, or left wondering what went wrong. But what really happened is simple. You were playing by her spoken rules, not her emotional truth. Because there's a massive difference between a woman's verbal logic and her emotional response system. See, when she's sitting with friends or scrolling self-help pages, she's speaking logically. But attraction isn't logical. It's visceral. It happens in the body before it ever reaches the brain. So even if she tells you she wants emotional vulnerability, what actually triggers desire is emotional groundedness. Even if she says she loves men who are always available, what actually pulls her in is a man with boundaries and purpose. Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a woman chase the man who's super sweet, super responsive, always eager to please? Probably not. But you've seen her light up for the man who's hard to read. The man who doesn't hand over his attention so easily. The man who doesn't try to impress because he knows who he is. And that's the contradiction. What she says she wants sounds nice, but what her nervous system is wired to respond to is something else entirely. It's not manipulation. It's not trickery. It's biology. Women are biologically drawn to men who represent certainty, security, and emotional control. Men who are stable under pressure, unshaken by emotion, anchored in mission, not lost in validation seeking. That doesn't mean women want jerks or emotionally dead men. It means they want a man whose value is so self-contained, he doesn't need approval to feel solid. And that's where Stoicism enters the frame. Because Stoicism doesn't tell you to suppress emotion. It teaches you to master it. To be present, without being needy. To be kind, without being passive. To be emotionally aware, without being emotionally led. The Stoic man isn't a nice guy. He's a centered man. A rare signal in a world full of emotional noise. So yes, women do want love. They do want support. But they want it from a man who doesn't chase them to give it. Because in the end, she's not just drawn to how you treat her, she's drawn to how you handle yourself. And that is the real key most men miss. So if women say they want the kind, caring, emotionally available man, why do they keep chasing the guy who's unpredictable? Why do they light up for the man who doesn't always reply? Why does the one who shows less get more? It doesn't make sense. Until you stop listening to her words and start watching her patterns. Here's the raw truth most men aren't taught. Attraction isn't about what you give her. It's about the energy you radiate, your emotional posture, your self-command, your signal in the chaos of modern relationships. Because despite what she says, she doesn't want a man who makes her his world. She wants a man who has his own world and decides, on his terms, to invite her into it. Let me give you an example. You ever notice how women chase men who seem slightly out of reach? He's not rude, not disrespectful, but he's focused. He doesn't always answer right away. He's not on the phone 24/7 explaining how much he likes her. He's busy building something, moving towards something. And that makes her curious. It makes her wonder, why doesn't he need me? What's he up to? That tension? That intrigue? That's where attraction lives. Now let's flip it. You give her constant compliments. You're always available. You check in, make plans, say the right things. She says, "You're such a good guy." Then slowly, you notice the energy fade. She gets distant, cancels plans, says she's not ready. But the truth is brutal. She's not ready. She's just not feeling it. And she doesn't even know why. Why? Because you became predictable, safe, emotionally readable. And while women say they want safety, what they actually respond to is mystery, challenge, and a feeling of earned closeness, not instant availability. Biologically, women are wired to be drawn to men who hold the frame. Not control, not dominate, but contain. A man who's in command of his emotions, not expressing every single one for approval. A man who listens, but isn't eager to fix. A man who's kind, but not performative. A man who has empathy, but doesn't seek validation for it. This is why emotionally grounded men are so rare and so powerful. Here's another key point. A woman will test you, not to hurt you, but to feel your depth. She'll push a boundary, say something emotional, go silent for a while. She's not always doing it consciously, but she's feeling for something beneath the surface. Can this man handle me? Can he hold space when I'm spinning out? If your response is to panic, over-text, or over-justify, that's when she subconsciously feels, nope. He's not grounded. I can't trust him. But when your energy says, I don't chase what pulls away. I stay present. I stay calm. I stay centered. That's when everything shifts. Suddenly, you're the one she's thinking about. The one she's checking her phone for. The one she wants to understand. And this isn't about being manipulative. It's about being magnetic. Because you're rooted in something deeper than approval. And what's that rooted thing? Stoicism. Stoicism gives you the mental strength to not react emotionally every time something moves. It teaches you to master your urges, not obey them. To be calm, clear, and committed to your path, whether someone joins you or not. Because women don't respond to words. They respond to energy. They don't just hear what you say, they feel how you carry yourself. And if your energy says, I'm solid with or without you, you become the kind of man she can't ignore. The truth is, women crave the man they can't fully figure out. Not because he plays games, but because he plays life at a higher level. He's in motion. He has direction. He doesn't stop to explain himself at every turn. And that silent strength, that inner gravity, it's irresistible. So let's talk about the first Stoic principle that changes everything: emotional control. Now let's get one thing straight. Control doesn't mean suppression. It doesn't mean pretending you don't feel anything. It means you don't allow your feelings to control your actions. Big difference. Think about the average man in a relationship today. She pulls away, he panics. She doesn't reply, he triple texts. She gets emotional. He either explodes or completely shuts down. None of these are strength. They're just emotional reflexes dressed up as honesty. But a Stoic man, he feels everything, but reacts to almost nothing. He pauses. He breathes. He evaluates. He lets the storm pass, then speaks. And you know what happens when you master this? Women notice. Because in a world of emotional noise, calm is rare. It's magnetic. It's masculine. It's felt instantly. Let's take a real-life example. She comes at you angry, blaming you, emotional, chaotic. Most men try to fix it immediately. No, that's not what I meant. Please calm down. I didn't do anything wrong. But the Stoic man holds the frame. He doesn't match her chaos. He doesn't shrink or over-apologize. He listens. Then when she's finished, he responds with calm clarity. I hear you. Let's slow this down. No raised voice. No emotional collapse. No chasing her approval. And just like that, everything changes. Because your calmness gives her safety, the very thing her nervous system craves, even when her words say otherwise. Women want emotional presence, but what they really respond to is emotional leadership. And leadership doesn't look like over-explaining yourself to be liked. It looks like staying grounded in who you are, even when she's unsure of who she is in the moment. Let me put it like this. She doesn't want you to cry every time she's upset. She wants to know that when the world shakes, you don't. She wants your energy to say, I can hold myself, and I can hold space for you too. But that kind of presence only comes from one place: discipline. And that's what Stoicism really is. It's emotional discipline. It's training yourself to pause before you react, to observe before you speak, to master the moment before it masters you. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside of it. Realize this, and you will find strength. And in relationships, that quote becomes gold. Because if you're constantly reacting to what she says, or what she didn't say, or what she posted, or how she looked at you last night, you're not in control. You're just emotionally dependent, even if you're saying all the right things. The truth is, women respect men who don't break under pressure, not because they're cold, but because they're clear. Let's say you get emotional. That's okay. You're human. But instead of turning that emotion into panic or people-pleasing, you do what the Stoics did. You name the feeling. You sit with it. And you ask, is this feeling useful? Or is it just noise? That's where real masculinity is born, not in dominance, but in discipline. Because emotional chaos is everywhere today in dating, in social media, in conversations. And most men think, if I match her energy, she'll understand me. Wrong. Matching emotional chaos doesn't earn respect. Containing it does. It's not about being cold. It's about being calm and fire. Controlled, not distant. Grounded, not aloof. And the more you develop this discipline, the more you'll feel something shift. She'll start to lean in. She'll ask you more questions. She'll feel safer in your presence without even knowing why. Because now, you're not just a man she talks to. You become something else entirely, a man she can trust emotionally, even in silence. Here's a hard truth that most men figure out too late. The moment you put her above your purpose is the moment she begins to lose interest. See, a lot of guys think the key to winning her over is proving how much they care. So they sacrifice their time, abandon their routines, bend their standards, all to show her she matters. And in theory, that sounds noble. But in reality, she starts to feel it. Not the love, the imbalance. Because she didn't want to become your everything. She wanted to be part of something bigger than her, a man on a mission. And that's the core of Stoic principle number 2, purpose over pleasing. Now let's be clear, this isn't about ignoring her, being selfish, or playing hard to get. It's about knowing your direction and refusing to trade it for attention. A woman doesn't fall in love with a man because he does whatever she wants. She falls in love with the man who knows what he wants and doesn't apologize for it. Think about the men women obsess over in real life or fiction. They're not spineless. They're grounded. They're focused. They have vision. They have goals. They have structure. And yes, they care deeply. But their love never comes at the cost of their mission. Let me give you a story. You meet a woman. She's into you. You shift your schedule to see her more. You skip workouts, ditch your business ideas, stop spending time with your boys. You think, this will show her how serious I am. At first, she's flattered. But over time, her energy shifts. She seems bored, less engaged. You wonder, what did I do wrong? Here's what happened. You stopped being the man she was drawn to, the man with fire, vision, movement. You became available, predictable. You abandoned yourself to gain her. But in the process, you lost her. Because women don't fall in love with men who follow. They fall in love with men who lead. Stoicism teaches you this. Your duty comes before your desire. Your character is more important than being liked. Your mission is not optional. It's who you are. So when a woman enters your life, she should enhance it, not replace it. She should feel the gravity of your world, not become the center of it. The irony? When you stop trying to please, when you stop bending, when you choose your purpose first, she respects you more, desires you more, feels safer with you. Why? Because you're no longer reactive. You're not molding yourself to fit her. You're inviting her into a life that already has direction. And that's where deep, lasting attraction comes from, not from how much you offer, but from how rooted you are in what you won't give up. A woman wants a man she can't shake. A man who's not available for everything because he's responsible for something. And that something is your purpose. There's a powerful contradiction that most men never understand, and it keeps them stuck, confused, and constantly chasing. It's the difference between the female voice and the female gaze. See, what women say they want, and what their body, their eyes, their emotions are drawn to, are not always the same. Let's break that down. The female voice is conscious. It's the voice you hear in podcasts, in interviews, on social media posts. It says things like, "I just want a man who communicates. I value emotional vulnerability. I like guys who are sweet, gentle, and always available." Again, she's not lying. She believes that. She genuinely wants that, at least on the surface. But then comes the contradiction. That same woman, who preaches kindness and availability, ignores the guy who texts good morning every day, and finds herself emotionally tangled with a man who keeps her guessing. Why? Because the female gaze is unconscious. It's not filtered through logic or reason. It's not influenced by political correctness or social media expectations. It's biological. It's ancient. It's instinctual. The female gaze isn't listening to your sweet words. It's scanning for strength, for emotional command, for confidence that doesn't need explaining. The female gaze is pulled in by presence, not paragraphs, by grounded calm, not anxious energy, by a man who can hold silence and still own the room. Let's go deeper. She says she wants a man who's vulnerable. But when you open up too fast, trauma dumping, over-explaining your pain, needing reassurance, she suddenly feels turned off. She says she wants you to be honest about how you feel. But if you start emotionally spiraling in front of her every time something goes wrong, she doesn't feel closeness. She feels unsafe. Why? Because emotional expression without control feels chaotic. And what the female gaze is drawn to is certainty, not instability. So here's the key. It's not about being dishonest. It's about learning how to lead yourself emotionally before trying to lead someone else. You can be open. You can share. But do it from a place of centered strength, not desperation for comfort. Because the moment your vulnerability feels like a cry for saving, she subconsciously pulls back. Let's flip it. You walk into a room. You're not loud. You're not seeking attention. But your posture, your stillness, your ease with silence commands respect. You speak when needed. You're kind, but not overly expressive. You don't need to prove anything. Suddenly, she's intrigued. She leans in, asks you questions, wants to know what's beneath that quiet confidence. That's the female gaze at work, not responding to words, but to energy. Here's what most men never hear. Women fall for how you make them feel, not how much you talk. And how you make them feel depends on how well you lead yourself. So yes, she says she wants you to be open. She says she wants to talk about feelings. But she doesn't want a man who bleeds emotions without structure. She wants a man who feels deeply, but moves deliberately, who listens, but doesn't lose himself in her waves, who stands firm, even when emotions rise. And when you live from this place, not just speak it, but embody it, that's when everything changes. Because now, her voice might say, "He's hard to read." But her gaze will keep returning to you, again and again. Not because you chased, not because you impressed, but because you remained still, clear, and self-led. And that kind of presence, it doesn't just attract her, it grounds her. So after all the noise, all the confusion, all the mixed signals, what actually attracts women, deeply, consistently, and subconsciously, is what I call the Stoic frame. Not status, not muscles, not flashy pickup tactics, but the quiet, steady presence of a man who is calm, capable, centered. Let's break those down. 1. Calm doesn't mean passive. It means composed. You don't panic when she pulls away. You don't beg for clarity when she gets emotional. You don't explode when your ego feels bruised. You respond, not react. And this calmness? It's not just for her. It's for you. Because the man who controls his emotions controls outcomes. Imagine this. She's upset, emotional, throwing verbal jabs. A weak man meets her fire with more fire. A passive man withdraws and sulks. But a calm man? He listens. He breathes. He keeps his voice low and steady. That stillness in the face of tension? It's more powerful than charm. It makes her feel emotionally safe and emotionally challenged. She'll think, he's not shaken by me. He's not flinching. He knows himself. And that right there? That's rare. 2. Capability is about more than money or muscles. It's about being able to handle life and being perceived as such. A capable man solves problems without panic. He keeps promises. He's skilled, or he's learning. He takes action, not just talk. This is deeper than attraction. It's trust. A woman is biologically wired to feel safe with a man who can protect and provide, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. When things go wrong, do you crumble or lead? When stress shows up, do you react or adapt? Capability looks like discipline, clarity, decision-making. It's that energy that says, even if things fall apart, I won't. And when she sees that quiet confidence, she won't say it out loud, but she'll feel it deeply, in her body, in her chest, in her gut. She'll relax into you, because she knows she doesn't have to be the strong one anymore. 3. Centered. The final piece, and maybe the most important, is being centered. A centered man knows who he is without needing a mirror. He doesn't need external validation to feel worthy. He doesn't adjust himself constantly to be liked. He doesn't chase trends, over-explain, or try to perform masculinity. He just is. He stands on his values. He protects his time. He says no without guilt. He doesn't seek peace by sacrificing his identity. Because he knows, if I betray myself to please others, I lose both. That centered energy? It's unmistakable. You walk into a room, and people feel it, even if you don't say a word. You're not the loudest, but you're the most grounded. You're not seeking attention, but somehow it finds you. And women? They feel this deeper than anything else. It's what makes them lean in, look twice, wonder, who is this man who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, doesn't fold? The Stoic frame isn't about acting like a robot. It's about embodying a presence so grounded that no emotion, no woman, no situation can pull you out of your essence. Calm, so she feels safe. Capable, so she respects you. Centered, so she never questions your identity. That's what Stoicism trains in you. Not to suppress your feelings, but to command them. Not to reject love, but to give it from a place of overflow, not need. And here's the twist. When you live in the Stoic frame, you stop trying to get women. Because you realize you're the prize. Not in a cocky, delusional way, but in a quiet, knowing way. You don't chase love. You attract it by standing still while everyone else scrambles. Now here's where most men get it wrong. They hear emotional control. They hear don't chase, don't overreact. And they think, okay, I'll shut everything off. I won't feel anything. I'll just go cold. That's not Stoicism. That's emotional avoidance. That's shutting down, numbing, disconnecting. And women can feel that too, and they run from it. Because here's the truth. A man who suppresses his emotions is just as unstable as one who's ruled by them. He's hiding, not mastering. He's masking fear, not building strength. There's a big difference between being detached and being centered. A detached man is distant, hard, closed off. He pushes people away and calls it discipline. He hides behind silence and calls it stoicism. He avoids intimacy, vulnerability, softness. Because he's afraid it makes him weak. But a centered man? He feels everything. He just doesn't act on impulse. He doesn't let emotions make decisions for him, but he listens to them, understands them, integrates them. That's true strength. Stoicism isn't about becoming numb. It's about becoming disciplined. It's not about silence. It's about intention. It's not about rejecting women or love. It's about not needing them to feel whole. And women can feel that difference immediately. They'll say things like, there's something about him. He's quiet, but warm. He's emotionally present, but never dramatic. He's not cold. He's just unshakable. That's what draws them in. So don't confuse deadness for strength. Don't confuse emotional absence for power. True stoicism is alive, aware, and responsive. It just isn't reactive. Let me give you a simple test. If you shut down every time things get emotional. If your version of stoicism means disappearing during conflict. If you use emotional control as an excuse to avoid growth. You're not in control. You're hiding. But if you can sit in discomfort. If you can hear tough truths without folding. If you can feel love, disappointment, anger, fear, and still choose your best response. That's stoicism. And guess what? That man, the man who feels deeply, but moves with clarity, that's the man women remember. That's the man women respect. And that's the man women feel safe surrendering to. Because safety doesn't come from softness alone. It comes from strength with warmth. from power under control, from a man who doesn't need to prove he's in command, because he lives it. So before you go stoic and disappear emotionally, ask yourself, am I avoiding or am I anchoring? Only one of those makes you attractive. Only one of those leads to real connection. And only one builds the life and relationships you actually want. So now you know what women say they want and what they're drawn to aren't always the same. She says she wants comfort, but craves strength. She says she wants vulnerability, but respects control. She says she wants presence, but only when it doesn't feel needy. And that's not manipulation. That's biology. That's the tension of masculine and feminine energy at play. But here's the key. You don't need to become someone else to be attractive. You don't need to play games. You need to become more of who you already are. But with discipline, purpose, and emotional gravity. Because the man who wins isn't the loudest, not the smoothest, not the nicest. It's the man who leads himself, who doesn't flinch in the face of feminine emotion, who doesn't chase validation because he already has it from within. That's Stoicism. It's not a trend. It's not a tactic. It's a mindset, a lifestyle, one that turns you into the man people trust, follow, and remember, including women. Here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, practice emotional silence. That doesn't mean coldness. It means presence without performance. Don't explain yourself. Don't chase. Don't overexpress. Just observe. Hold space. Move with intent. Watch what happens. You'll notice people leaning in. You'll see energy shift. You'll feel your own power, not from how loud you speak, but from how still you've become. That's the man she remembers. That's the man who doesn't just attract women, he anchors them. If this video hits something deep, don't just scroll. Like this video so YouTube knows it's worth showing to more men like you. Subscribe if you're on the path of becoming calm, capable, and unshakably masculine. And drop a comment. What's one lesson you've learned from your last relationship? We're building a community here, not just watchers, but warriors. Remember, she doesn't want a perfect man. She wants a man who leads himself. I'll see you in the next one.